Hello, my name's Dev Lal, and I'm talking with my good friend and consultant colleague, Jeremy Latham. Jeremy is a specialist hip surgeon working in Winchester and South Coast, and I'm delighted to welcome him today. Jeremy, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Deb. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm a specialist hip surgeon, been in practice for over 20 years, was based in Southampton, but and now at the Nuffield Health Wessex Hospital, which is a private hospital just outside Southampton, between Southampton and Winchester.
Excellent. Very nice part of the world, I understand. In fact, I grew up not too far away from there, actually. One thing I wanted to talk a little bit about today is, over these series of videos and over many months of personal conversation between us, we've been talking about issues of, how we can encourage people to get seen sooner rather than later so they get treated. And one of the issues that always seems to come up, I think, is the issue of waiting lists. Now, I understand, in hip surgery, that's been a problem in the NHS as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been a huge problem, Deb, particularly with COVID. As you know, we're emerging in the UK from the pandemic. The news isn't great. We've just closed down our travel corridor with France. So we're still certainly not out of the woods. And during the COVID lockdown, of course, all elective surgery stopped in the UK. And that's caused a huge backlog of cases. We do over 110,000 hip replacements every year in the UK. And so every quarter, that's a quarter at least of work that's not being done. And that's going to cause huge problems as the NHS tries to struggle with those enormous waiting lists. And people realistically now, I think, are going to have to wait at least a year and probably 18 months for their hip replacement surgery.
Wow. So it's going back to something like the bad old days with massive waiting lists.
Certainly is, I think, Dev. I think go back over 20 years, there was a massive increase in funding for NHS services, the private financial initiatives, the public-private sector partnerships that went on. And certainly waiting times were better then. But I don't think there is the capacity to deal with the volume of work, particularly the more urgent cases in the NHS, and do the elective surgery like hip and knee replacements as well.
Right. Right. And of course, there's a very human cost to that as well, because none of us like, it's we all like to have what we want and what we need as soon as we can. But with healthcare, then that's a different thing, because there's a human cost to this. If you're in continuous pain because of arthritis of the hip joint or something, then you're feeling that every day. It's not something you can forget about and put to the back of your mind till your operation time comes around in a year's time or so, is it?
Exactly that, Dev. And it's not just the human costs. I mean, private healthcare isn't cheap. The reality is that if you elect to have private surgery, if you don't have health insurance, you're paying for it from your own pocket, from taxed income or pension income, and it is very expensive. People are often surprised at the expense of having a hip replacement, which can be £14,000 or £15,000. But one has to look at the whole value of that. And what is the value you're getting? You're getting care in a private facility of your choice with a surgeon who's going to look after you from beginning to end and deal with any problems that might arise. You're having surgery done at a time of your choosing, which certainly in the NHS you can't have at the moment because you're on a waiting list with seemingly no end these days.
And that's right, of course, because whilst your operation, the recovery period and everything is going to be the same in the NHS or privately, it's going to be 3 months or whatever it might be. But if you've got to wait 18 months for your operation, that's 18 months out of your life where you're struggling on, your symptoms are getting worse, you're still waking up with pain in the hip, you can't do what you've got to do, and it's that cost, sort of that you've got to factor in here, and what price is there to getting treated sooner.
Exactly that, Dev. And of course, it's not just the physical costs. People who have hip surgery often at the older end of this spectrum, and if they lose their mobility and independence, they start to be at increased risk of having a fall, ending up in hospital with a broken bone. And of course, the loss of confidence, the psychological problems of living your life indoors more and more and losing social contact with your family. All of these things are really important. So the sooner you get treated, the more likely you are to get back to your way of life, which adds value to your life and the people that you know and love.
Right, absolutely. And of course, some of these things, such as loss of confidence, is not easy. You know, confidence isn't easily rebuilt once you lose your confidence and you think you think you're getting a bit more frail and you're more likely to fall. To regain your confidence and your ability to trust your own body to do what you tell it to do is not easily regained once you've lost it.
You know, once you've lost it, it's very difficult to get it back again. So the sooner you get things dealt with, the sooner you can get on with your life again and get that spring in your step again. Look the world in the eye.
Absolutely. Wise words there. Wise words. So if somebody out there is having trouble with their hip, or as a relative that is, perhaps would benefit from seeing somebody like yourself, how should they get in touch with you?
Best way of getting in touch with me, Dev, is either on the phone to speak to my lovely secretaries, Anne and Tracy, at the Nuffield Health Wessex Hospital. The details will follow at the end of this. Or go through the website, lathamhipsurgery.co.uk. If you sign up through the contact form there, you'll be sent daily emails with video content about tips and tricks about how to manage your hip, what to expect from surgery and the recovery process. Come and see me in Chandler's Ford. We can go through your condition. I'll take a thorough history from you, examine you, get some up-to-date x-rays of your hip, and then we can sit down and make a plan as to how best to treat your arthritic hip and what to expect from surgery.
Excellent, excellent. Very useful conversation as always, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Good to see you, Dev. Thanks for hosting me.